Welcome in, everybody. This is Sportsify. I'm your host, Matt Novak. Alongside me, as always, is Grant Hawker.
Always.
On the third mic tonight is our buddy Jamison DeFore.
What's going on?
And we are getting into the recap of the week that was. Also, some big stuff happened this week, and it's going to affect one, maybe, probably not playoff team, I think. Pretty big. We got an absolute, I don't know, like worst teammate ever scenario that happened in San Francisco this week. We got a massive, hopefully Super Bowl matchup, little foreshadowing that took place this week. And man, we got a team that clinched a division that I didn't realize was going to this weekend, to be honest with you, had that potential. But considering the division they're in, it makes sense. We're going to get to all of that, start knocking it out. But I want to start with exactly what I mentioned at the top. This week, Kirk Cousins. Yeah.
Sayonara.
He's getting the Matt Ryan treatment. Goodbye. $60 million is headed to the bench, boys.
It's head down the toilet, actually, for the Falcons.
Oh.
Just wasted it.
I cannot believe that we're sitting here with a team who has a playoff spot on the line. It's going to replace their quarterback this late in the season.
Week 16.
Legit, like we got 3 games left, and they have seen enough down in Atlanta. That is just nuts. I know you when we texted this week, you guys were like, hey, it should have happened sooner. And we obviously had the heavy stat last week about him going 0-8 with touchdown interception on 4 games. And then also, what we kicked in with, which I personally thought was the heavier stat, the 4 for 13 in the red zone over those same games and his lack of effectiveness in the short field. All that was said last week. Strong opinions tossed around. We crowned the Buccaneers the NFC South champions, really in that conversation, and all they did was go back that up by massacring. I mean, just wiping the Chargers, which is
I don't think anybody saw that coming.
No, dude, that was a tough game. Yeah. I mean, I feel bad that wasn't in our pick'em last week. Like we should have definitely tried to plug that one in. I think it would have divided the house. I think we would have been all over the place.
Some of us would look like idiots.
For sure. We look like idiots all the time, but in that scenario. But no, man, like all that said, like still with that, you guys are like, yeah, it should have happened already. And I'm like, okay. But honestly, and I didn't get into it with you in the group text, but I was like, I don't know. I wouldn't have done it yet. You're paying him $60 million. Like 60, not 60. Not 20, not 30, not 40. He's the highest paid player in the NFL right now. Yeah.
And also, by the way, 2 highest paid quarterbacks, one's injured for the season, and the other guy just got benched. Again, sometimes these desperation moves that these owners do, that these organizations do that are, I would say, mid organizations, like by that definition, not great, not terrible. And when they get desperate, this is what happens. You pay a mid quarterback, top dollar, and
then use your first round draft pick on another quarterback.
Which, by the way, maybe that doesn't look stupid now.
Well, we're about to find out.
That's true.
We're about to find out. Yep. Is Michael Penix the guy? I mean, I will say if he's any near as good at football in the NFL like that he was in that press conference and how he handled the situation, like kudos to him on that. By the way, you couldn't treat a veteran with more respect, and I would assume like everybody loves Kirk Cousins. Like no one's ever said a not kind word about this guy. This is a man of faith that loves Jesus and football and his family, and not in that order. Legitimately, like he's just a great human being, and I think Penix did a great job of just again with maturity handling a difficult situation. Cousins saying all the right things too. Like it's all good. Raheem Morris, what a dude to handle it the way he's doing it. But I mean, the word was, man, Raheem just wasn't going to do this. Like literally, Dan Orlovsky spent the weekend with these guys because he called Monday Night Football. By the way, the Falcons won 15-9 in a trash game that Kirk Cousins won technically for them. I mean,
but that's how
yards,
uninterested they are in him starting. Like they won, but still we're like, yeah.
And I heard, by the way, also heard the comparison with Justin Fields this last week. Like, well, he went 4-2, and then they put Russ in. Yeah, so that's not a comparison that you want to make right now because Russ was clearly playing a lot better ball than Justin Fields, and has been, and that's not the comparison.
Also, a rookie to like a 10-year vet.
Absolutely,
yeah.
These are two different things. But Kirk did get that win, kept him in the hunt this week. But Dan Orlovsky had spent the whole weekend with him, doing the production meetings, had all the conversations, and he went on national television 3 times on Tuesday when this announcement was made and said, yeah, he's not doing it. Raheem literally told me to my face, like, hey, you can't make that decision. You can't do it. You can't do it. And then he did it.
Do you think this is pressure from the front office?
Yes. This is Arthur Blank 101. We saw it in the draft room. Remember? Like, they make this pick, and that no one was more shocked than Arthur Blank. They did not tell that old man what their plan was. They didn't. He comes over, he's like, hey, what did you I just paid $60 million for the guy. Like, remember you asked me to write that check? What is that? So I agree, man. I think it's absolutely that. I think it has to be that this was a over the head decision. I know we're not going to get into the weeds today, by the way, but owners are crazy. Holy cow. Mm-hmm. I mean, we all saw what came out today in New York. Oh my gosh. I don't want to spend even 2 minutes on it, but if any of that crud is true, like any of it, just one of those things about Woody, holy cow.
Wait, I missed this.
Oh, bro, have you not seen the break? Just type in his name right now to Google. Go have fun reading that. I would love your live reaction to that ridiculousness.
I've been so busy today.
I totally believe you.
Uh-huh. Wait, Madden ratings? What?
Yep. There we go. This is the reaction I was wanting.
Jets. Wait, Jerry Jeudy responds to rumors Jets Woody Johnson vetoed trade over Madden rating?
Yes. This is apparently real.
There's no way, dude. There's no way an owner of a $1 billion organization is basing this off of one of the worst video game franchises ever.
There's more than one report, too. It's not just that trade.
I'm on Bleacher Report.
He legit, as you dig deeper, they're saying that he like denied discussions for trades and or signing players based on the player's situational awareness ratings in Madden.
Is his grandkid making these decisions?
No, that's the next one. That's the next one. Keep reading.
Wait, no.
Find the one about his teenage sons.
No.
Bro.
This is like an SNL bit.
This is so good.
Wait.
Keep going.
Wait, here we go. Defector.com. New York Jets plagued by Woody Johnson's meddlesome teenage sons. What?
This is a real report, dude. This is multiple news outlets carrying this today.
I'm trying to skim to just find something that I can read off.
So I'll give you highlights. Keep digging. The highlight is that his teenage sons apparently influence football operations decisions and personnel decisions. They give their opinion and they cite Madden ratings to their dad, who made multiple decisions, apparently, possibly,
allegedly.
This is not feel real.
Yes, it is. And like, dude, these guys are going to bat for these posts. They're reporters. There's like 3 of them that reported these separate things all today. This is the next owner to go, in case you're wondering. This is the next one that gets asked to sell his team.
Well, I mean, he's probably going to hand it back to his brother or whatever, right? Isn't that?
I mean, it probably stays in the family, but like legit, like this is the next one who has to get rid of the team. It's hilarious. I'll let you keep reading. It's insane. Aaron Rodgers is going to be the coach next year.
Player coach. Jackie Moon.
Also, if you want some more good reading, there's a video of Aaron Rodgers drinking a special drink and chatting.
Talking about butterflies and giving a lot of hugs.
Okay, so at least you were on the internet enough to find that one today.
Yeah, I saw that one. I saw it a couple days ago. Dude, I cannot believe who
It's just billionaires being billionaires, bro.
They clearly don't understand ball. Clearly.
No, they don't. They don't. But it was absolutely a fantastic read today. And the more you dig into it, just the worse it gets.
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome. Thought he just awesome. Found out the best life hack ever. It's like, they do the work for me, and all I gotta do is buy this game for $70.
Dude, we got Chad Ochocinco and Marshawn Lynch as Madden ratings adjusters, by the way. That's yes, who's essentially making the decisions for the New York Jets. Marshawn Lynch and Chad Ochocinco.
I'm being honest though. Don't you kind of think like they might put together a better squad?
I would, because I wouldn't use Madden.
Well,
end of story. Discussion over.
The funny thing is that anybody who's actually played Madden knows to not use those ratings for anything in real life.
Exactly. Right. They're terrible. Oh my gosh.
Like we know the guys that will like draft their fantasy teams based on Madden rating. We know these people. Like, these are humans in our lives.
Let's just take the opportunity to say, don't buy Madden because it's a ripoff. It's the same game every year. And then 2, it's absolutely ridiculous. The ratings for teams and players, absolutely ridiculous. It's a joke.
Oh yeah, 100% is. You get guys that aren't in top 10s and stats, like sitting there with low 90s, and you're looking at it going, but for the last 3 years, this other guy has had more catches and he's faster than him. And, like you just go through it and you're like, how do they justify that? Just like, are they just guessing? Like literally this year, Cooper Kupp, and this is Jamison's going to agree with this. Cooper Kupp had a higher rating going into the season still than Puka. And anybody that watched football last year was like, yeah, Puka's real good. Like, so good. And Cooper Kupp is still one of the better possession receivers in the NFL, one of the dirtiest route runners there is, and sucks to try and tackle. Nobody's denying that. And by the way, has fantastic hands. But Puka's better than him, like right now, today, for sure. And it was just so funny watching like these guys do side-by-side comparisons of them playing ball last year. I was watching a video on it and it was like, no way. You can't watch football and think what those numbers are. That's insane. Yeah. But sorry, we got into the weeds. I said we weren't going to do it. And
no, I didn't know though. So
yeah, it's fair. It was good.
That was worth the journey.
That was worth the weeds.
Yeah, dude.
Gosh,
that was great. So how do you guys feel though? Falcons going into the weekend, they got to win. Definitely 2 of the next 3. Like, if you just had to guess, looking what's on the horizon for the Falcons, I know we're pulling up schedules right now, but if you're looking at these next 3 games, does Penix have the ability to go 2-1 here? We all like Drake London. Okay, we know Drake London's a dude.
Bijan's
we know
awesome.
what Bijan is like. Obviously, can handle the rock. He can catch the ball. I know he's to the tackles type, but can Penix? I mean, we saw him in college. This is part of the reason they drafted him specifically is they wanted an offense that didn't rely on all this extra stuff behind the line of scrimmage. They want their quarterback to be able to stand in the pocket and chuck. And we know that's what he did, right?
I mean, I loved Penix coming out of college. Like the experience, the adversity, doing injuries, like all the intangible stuff, like he's got it. Like, and again, we talked about a few weeks ago, like experience matters. And I mean, dude's like the oldest, rookie, like 24. Like he'll be 25 by next season. His birthday's in May. And the way
he's
that
older than Bo. Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah. And I loved the way he threw the ball. And I think a lot of that also Ryan Grubb, awesome weapons in Washington, obviously got to the national championship. I thought in terms of just pure passer, I thought he was the best coming out of the draft in terms of just the ability to pass the ball. I'm like, because all the other guys I think had some things like, Bo Nix's guys were always open, some of those things. And Bo Nix is still proven to be good. But Jaden Daniels, there was question marks about, his ability to stay healthy, his size. Caleb Williams, has to make the miracle play every single time. But like the thing that always translates is the ability to pass the ball. Um, it's those other things that maybe don't, the athleticism, the mobility. A lot of times the mobile quarterback isn't as great at passing, all those things. And so I was a believer of Michael Penix. I think he went 2 or 3. It's against the It's against his 2 of 3 games is the Giants and the Panthers.
Those look like dubs. I mean, the Giants want to lose so bad.
Yeah, yeah, they want Shador absolutely. So I think absolutely they can win 2 or 3. So
who's their third game?
It's the Giants this week, and then it's the Commanders, and they end with the Panthers.
Okay, Commanders are in the hunt. They're going to need that dub.
Yeah,
I think the Commanders would probably win that game, and then I mean I wouldn't be surprised if the Panthers put up a fight actually for that last regular season game for the Falcons. But I certainly think they can go 2-1 in this stretch. I mean, when you think about it, like Penix stepping in there, he doesn't have to all of a sudden be this great quarterback. I mean, what we've seen from Kirk Cousins has been pretty terrible. And he's not even like a functioning athlete half the time. And that's not necessarily his fault. Obviously, he's still coming off of an Achilles last year. So, like, I understand why. But to put somebody out there who is going to be more just baseline athletic, I feel like opens up so many other options in that offense, even though he's not like a mobile quarterback. He's just in one piece and healthy and young. And
he's an athletic quarterback.
Yeah. And I mean, he ran like a really fast 40, right? But he's not like known as
he's not a scrambler.
He's not a scrambler running threat. But I feel like that alone just opens up so much because I don't have the stats pulled up here, but like if you watch the number of snaps that they take out of shotgun, it's basically every play.
Yeah.
And so you're doing nothing with your back to the defense. And it's just so easy to like read as a defense what's going on based on the options you're presenting on offense. And so even just that, I feel like opens up more. Plus he's got a cannon of an arm. Wouldn't be surprised to see him throw away a couple of balls to the other team. But as long as he's like a general net positive, he only has to be like a top 20, 25 quarterback for them to like win 2-1. They're a 500 team with Kirk, and he's been horrendous for several weeks now.
Be 15% better than Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, and then you go 2-1. Kirk Cousins, and maybe you're 1-2 or 2-1. It's like it's pretty coin flippy with him right now. So all you have to do is be better than a coin flip, and I think you can do that.
Throw one touchdown and one pick, and you're better than Kirk Cousins right now.
Yeah, they just need to keep it simple for him. They just need to keep it simple for him, and he just needs to not beat himself too much, because that defense has come on a little bit. It's not fantastic by any means, but you're not necessarily going to get ran out of games if you don't turn the ball over a whole lot. So,
and there's not a better game than this one to start.
And realistically, all three of them from the offense to defense matchup is a pretty good look for him.
Yeah, Commanders' defense isn't that good either. Yeah,
they just might get ran out. So
I am gonna. Oh, I mean, I'm not pushing back. I don't think there's any kind of hot take on it, but the game against the Raiders to me would have made a ton of sense.
Well, that's what we were calling for. Is like, why would you not at least now? And again, that's what we've kind of debated and talked about. Because we looked at those 4 games and we're like, after they got shellacked by the Vikings, we're like, dude, just put them in for the last 4. Like you get a decent sample size. You get a month of tape on Penix. But I mean, they did win. But I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter at this point.
But a reminder to everybody. Falcons are 4-1 in division. That is the one great thing they have going for them as a 7-7 team. They are 4-1.
The Bucks have to be games better than them because they've swept the Bucks. They have to be better than the Vikings.
So at 2-1, they would finish at a 9-8. The Buccaneers coming up for them is at Dallas this week. By the way, Sunday Night Football.
Well, they've got Bucks have really winnable games too. Cowboys,
they have
Panthers, Saints.
Yep.
There's a good chance they can win out.
Saints may get the opportunity to play spoiler at the end. That is absolutely possible. But the tough game is on their schedule is Dallas this weekend, which I know that's not saying a ton because Dallas obviously is amazing at finding creative ways to lose football games, as we discussed at length last week. And they showcased on Monday Night Football. but Dallas, I mean, playing at home where they just got just played the Bengals. Like they've been home for a little bit. You've had a lot of continuity right now. They're actually Dallas got a little healthier in the last couple weeks. So like that's a tough game. Those teams aren't that far apart from a talent perspective at the moment. If Dallas secondary can, hold the back line here, just force Penix to make difficult throws, this could be really interesting because they take that loss and the Falcons, the Bucks take that loss. Then the Falcons, did I just oops there? Yeah, I did. My bad, guys. The Buccaneers make some mistakes, and Dallas's secondary holds up against the Bucks. Thank you, Matt. And then Penix, Penix can just keep himself in the right spot here. We're tied. We're tied going into the last two games.
But
that
then,
gets super interesting.
But again,
super
not
fun.
not really tied because the Falcons have the tiebreaker.
Right.
Like, yeah, if they go 9 and what is it 8? They both go 9-8. Falcons are in.
Yeah. And then that game against Washington just becomes everything.
Mm-hmm.
The next week for the Falcons. So it's super interesting to me. I love the drama of it. Don't love that for Kirk Cousins, but dude did play himself to the bench. Like that's on him. And he clearly is owning that. Love the quote. I didn't forget how to play. Didn't forget how to play, but this is not the way he does play. You guys mentioned earlier that he takes all those shots, or they've been taking all the snaps in shotgun. They are, I think it's second to last in play action this year. I think it's second to last.
It's really stupid when you have Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, it feels pretty dumb. But also, they don't run him up the middle. That's not a game plan that they have.
I know, which again, this whole underutilization of their weapons has just been a thing for them. Like Kyle Pitts and London and all these guys that we're expecting to break out, they just don't use them.
Well, another quick negative that I want to hit, and I don't want to spend more time than I need to say this because everybody's about to agree with what I say. San Francisco played the Rams last Thursday night in probably one of the ugliest football games any of us have watched in a minute. I
didn't watch it, and I was so glad.
7 punts in the first quarter. Me and Jamison were both sitting there going, what the heck is this? We both expected this game to light up, but the weather was brutal, especially in the first half of this football game. But for me, Niners lost. We all picked the Niners to lose. That was not a surprise. But for me, the surprise of this game was some dude being a jackwagon worst teammate of all time. Devondre Campbell, who the Niners signed after or in the offseason from the Packers, just on a 1-year deal to come in and fill in for Dre Greenlaw, apparently got the surprise of his life that Dre Greenlaw, when he came back to play football, was going to take his starting role away from him.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? We literally told you to your face, we need you to come cover this, signed you to a contract that showed you exactly how long we planned on having you around. Come in and fill a role. He's been statistically the worst player on the defense that has started throughout the season. He has the most missed tackles on the team. You insert Dre Greenlaw, who played like an absolute, oh my gosh, rock star, especially for coming off an injury. He did deal with some soreness there in the fourth quarter. When they asked him to go in the second half and take snaps so that Greenlaw could come off the field and deal with the soreness, bro walked off the field, left his teammates, went home to cry about it. And yeah, I'm not the first person to say it, but I'm not going to be the last. This team has a dude that got shot in the chest in August playing football right now. A guy who just lost his 1-year-old daughter just a few weeks ago in Charvarius Ward playing football right now. Trent Williams, who's lost a kid, is working his way back from an injury so that he can play games that don't matter. And by the way, there's the guy that he had been playing next to, been playing on a broken ankle since September in Fred Warner. And Campbell couldn't show up to play football. Bye-bye. Say goodbye to your career. Say goodbye to the respect of your peers. Say goodbye to any clout that you had in this game you are literally one of the worst teammates in the history of the NFL. It was so selfish. This is some Antonio Brown garbage, and I hope you enjoy your now forced blackball retirement. You done. That was pathetic, and he should be embarrassed. I'm sure he is at this point. I would hope so. But, dude, we're never going to see him play in the NFL ever again. Nobody's going to allow that on their team. That was horrendous. As fans, we've all witnessed some cruddy things that people have done, namely the Antonio Brown thing recently. Seen some guys do some dirty stuff on the field, talk about Vontez Burfict or Ndamukong Suh or a host of old school dudes. Like that was a different era back, especially in the 80s. A couple
weeks
and the
ago,
70s.
Trevor Lawrence hit. Like
that's fair. I mean, Alshayer's got to own that one. But legitimately, there doesn't get worse in the NFL as a human being, as a teammate, when you take your ball and go home and cry. Garbage, bro. Be a grown up. Accept it. You're being paid $5 million to do nothing for the next couple of weeks. I love that the 49ers absolutely hosed him, suspended him for conduct detrimental to the team. No paychecks. He also lost and actually has to give back money that the 49ers had given him for his signing bonus because of the suspension. He's missing more than one game, so he loses part of his signing bonus, forfeits that with a clause in his contract. Good. The word is that he's going to get about 3.3 out of his $5 million that he was owed for the season. Super happy to hear that. I hope he learned his lesson, and I hope he moves on and is a better human being after that.
Get ready to learn French Canadian, pal.
Get ready to flip burgers, buddy.
Yeah, you're getting ready to play some football north of the border.
Enjoy those indoor games on Fridays and Saturdays.
Yeah, the Arena League. That's where you're going.
But no, legit, that was awful. I want to hit a couple funny ones just so I can get past it. Okay, I dealt with my emotions. Also, I do like, if we're just going to mention it really quick for the NFC West sake, I do love that there's a battle going on. I know it makes Grant nervous, and I'm sure that Jamison's been nervous. He knew they needed that win last week.
No, Jamison's in a better spot than me. He's licking his chops.
He's feeling that momentum right now.
Well, right now, I think we have like a 72% chance or whatever it was technically that the Rams are in the playoffs. Obviously, I haven't looked at our pick'em games yet, but obviously, as we start looking into next week, our teams are playing two very different games. But yeah, it does feel good. Beginning of that season was a tough stretch. I was hopeful that we would be able to pull something off again, but it's, you do it 2 years in a row. So coming off of last year, I'm like, oh, we did it last year, but that was improbable. So I don't want to bank on that happening again. And somehow here we are on the run again, and we got the ones we need. But yeah, as we get into pick 'em, I'm sure we'll talk about a couple of things here. So
yeah, no,
that one felt good.
I've never been a bigger fan of Aaron Rodgers than I am right now. I'll just say it that way.
I will say I'm low key thinking of that as a trap game. I don't know how much we'll talk about it, but that's my thoughts so far.
No, I'm a big Aaron Rodgers and Kyler Murray fan the next 2 weeks. Let me just put it that way. Yeah,
not Kyler Murray fan.
Hey man, it's for my team. That's how it goes. But
well, I thought a couple funny things that happened this weekend were worth mentioning as we move down through the games. Jonathan Taylor with a massive oopsie. Like
Deshaun Watson can celebrate. It's no longer just him.
Well, I mean, as Duck fans though, Grant, we have that. Yes, the all-timer.
But I was thinking more NFL. I was in the NFL. I think it's just Deshaun Watson and now Jonathan Taylor. I can't think of anybody else off my head who's dropped the ball.
I feel like there's a defensive player one. There's a defensive player oopsie, but it's like an all-timer too. Like,
yeah,
I think we're talking like early 2000s, late 90s. But no, the Duck one I think is the worst one of all time, because of the swing of that play and the lack of heads upness by both teams, with the exception of about 4 players. But it's fun to watch. If you've never watched that one, just you can YouTube Ducks return 100-yard touchdown after drop ball or something like that. It'll get you there, but it's hilarious. But JT dropped the ball going in the end zone. That game, by the way, if you didn't see, Indy was up 10-0, and
that was huge.
Absolutely, they were up 10-0. Broncos came back, scored some points, and this was to keep everything moving forward here. And when he drops that ball, I mean, Broncos had worked their way back into the game, but that was the momentum swing. That was it. 3 points for Indy after that drop. That's all they got there in the second half, and the Broncos just run away with it. But still funny to watch. Not if you're obviously not if you're a Colts fan. I know that it was 31-13 is the final, but the box score and doesn't necessarily do it justice if you're just looking at the end result, because legit, like, it was a game till he did that. That was kind of funny. That opened the door for the Texans to clinch the division, which was the one I did not realize was going to happen this weekend. I thought they would lean at least one more week. So Texans clinch the division. They get a win over Miami 20-12. There was 400 total yards, by the way, in that game by both teams. Super fun football to watch. Not a great product at all. But Texans get it done. Had to get it done with that door being wide open for them. We'll talk more about that when we talk about playoffs here in just a minute. But I want to get to two big games that we had circled that we didn't pick them, and we were all about. Eagles over the Steelers, 27-13. Eagles look terrifying.
Dude,
you could really say right now that's the best team in football for sure. We've been talking about them as a top two, a top three, a top four for the last couple of weeks. I think the Eagles right now, today, best team in football.
I mean, dude, they went 10 minutes and 29 seconds, 21 plays, 98 yards.
One of the best drives ever.
I mean, dude,
ever closed out the game.
You do that, like, you just don't give them a chance. Like, yeah, we talked about, like, Dan Campbell, right? Like, not giving the other team the opportunity even to, like, try something. Like, that's what, like, dude, 21 plays,
Steelers
10
had,
minutes.
2 possessions in the second half?
Yes.
And that was it?
Yep.
Like, you're not even breaking a sweat at that point.
Every head coach in the NFL went, dang.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, there was applause from everybody, including Mike Tomlin, who was like, yeah, that's the dream right there. If we can do that to people.
They did it against the Steelers, one of the best defenses in the league.
I will say, you need to know, and I know this was an early game for us. TJ Watt did get hurt in that game.
Yeah.
Not on field. So
Absolutely.
then we all understand they go as TJ goes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like you can really only have a drive that long if you are also playing a good defense, because those drives also need to be stalled by the defense long enough to get there. So, like,
you're working at a snail's pace, 3 yards, 4 yards.
Even without Watt there, they're still basically playing good enough defense to where they're just getting chipped and chipped and chipped away. And then eventually it's, too much. And obviously, in a game like football, it's all about possession. And if you can't possess the ball, you just don't have the opportunity to do anything. And so that defense just got worn down. I want to say I'm surprised. I can't really say I am, but I certainly think there's an argument to be made that they are the first, or the first place team, if you want to call them that, in the NFL right now, especially considering Detroit's injuries. I feel like they have a pretty compelling argument to be called the best team.
Yeah, we don't like power rankings. We actually all are not fans of power ranking teams because it's absolutely stupid. But obviously they have the momentum. We're talking this was 11, right? That 11 in a row?
For them?
Yeah.
Something's
at least 10.
Like
at least 10.
At least 10. My bad. I should know that off the top of my head. But we're talking about, double-digit wins. I know that.
Yeah.
In a row now, again, since the head shave. Since we went off about Sirianni and his head shave.
That was it, man.
It changed the game. He went full Britney. But like they just can beat you different ways. Barkley has done it a ton this year. And by the way, since I'm going to say his name, I'm also going to say probably the best press conference of the season so far. Jalen Hurts coming out and being like, "That's what you wanted, right?" Like, literally looked at everybody, ice chain on, ready to go, and he had this like, like flexing out his shoulders. Didn't even wait to sit down and said it to the entire press corps, who had been just crucifying him up in Philadelphia this last week. By the way, all that guy's ever done is won football games for you guys. Shut the heck up, or he's gonna leave you at some point. But got out there and got it done. Leading receiver, by the way, AJ Brown. Just throwing it out there. Still really good at football. Number 1 receiver in the league against man coverage. Showed up big time.
And Devontae Smith might be one of the most underrated, maybe number 2s, but maybe just one of the most underrated guys at his position in the league. Like, I feel like a lot of times he gets forgotten because AJ Brown is that special, but this is also a guy who I feel like in a lot of other situations would probably be wide receiver 1.
It's the T. Higgins effect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I view him in that same way.
Yeah, I mean, different style of play for sure.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying, for a true number 1, most number 1s are guys that can beat you. High point balls. They're going to be taking contested catches. Not that Devonta doesn't, but he traditionally breaks your zone insanely well. One of the best zone receivers in the league. Just finds those open spots. And he does a lot of longer routes too. It's quick move, longer route, quick move, longer route. And he'll just beat you on the sprint. And he has great hands, but those are not necessarily number 1 type roles. T.Y. Hilton was a little bit that way, but he was more vertical. And Devonta's definitely a little more horizontal in style. But yeah, dude, talk about underrated. But I just love that the Eagles went out and beat them with the thing that everybody said was broken. I thought that was hilarious. You went and beat one of the best defenses in the league and did it with your pass game. Just chunk play here, a little bit there, taking it away from them. Put 27 up on him.
Saquon had his worst game of the year.
He did.
They didn't rely on him at all.
Well, if you saw the Steelers defense, they went single high the whole time.
Extra guy in the
pack
box.
The box.
Yep.
Pack the box, and they did not come out of it. The only time that it made sense that they did that to me was in the fourth quarter when you've got AJ. Why are you going to man coverage on 3rd and 4, 3rd and 7? Like, you're just asking for it, dude. Like, all they're going to try and do is get your safety to commit to the other side, get AJ a one-on-one. He's getting the ball. And that happened again and again and again. And if he's not there, your 2 options, Devonta, as Jamison just said, one of the most underrated receivers in the league. And it was easy picking, honestly, for Hurts on a lot of these plays. And you couple that with the fact that they're amazing in the play action. Almost nobody's better than Jalen Hurts at it right now. Those rollouts were dynamite. So good win for the Eagles. They put a playbook on how you can take care of the Steelers, not just the whole TJ needs to be off the field, which, by the way, he's coming back this week. TJ is expected to play this Saturday against the Ravens. Get to more of that in a moment. But the best game of the weekend before
I want to say something. We actually had some history with this drive. So this was the longest drive in NFL history to result in a touchdown in terms of time taken out of time taken in a clock in terms of the clock time. So the Saints had a 24-play, 93-yard drive that took 10 minutes and 22 seconds, but it ended in a blocked field goal. And the Saints also in 2007 had a 24-play, 10-minute, 22-minute drive, 22-second drive, 19 plays, but they only came up with 3 points. So back, at least as far as I can track, which was at least 1990, which is what I was looking at here. There's never been a drive this long in terms of yards, plays, and time off the clock that actually resulted in a touchdown. So
wow, I like that one. I like that. Yeah, I remember watching an 8.5 minute drive one time. They got stuffed at like the 4, and I was like, "Dang, dude!" And that team lost.
Yep,
that team lost that game. And by like 2 or 3 too. But that's crazy. I mean, did they close it with the touchdown? Did they literally go to zeros, or was it just like under 10? 10 or 20.
I don't remember. I don't know what it exactly is.
I think it butted up against it. I didn't get to see the very end of the game. I had a commitment on Sunday night to go to, but yeah, that was impressive. So now I want to get to it. The game of the week, the hopeful Super Bowl matchup, the one I want to be the Super Bowl matchup. I know your teams are still in it, so you definitely want a different one. But the Bills and the Lions duking it out this weekend was awesome.
That was something.
Absolutely sick. Jared Goff is still great at football. Oh my gosh. Bro throws 5. Count them 5 in this game. Absolutely loved it. 1,100 yards of offense between the two teams and only one turnover in the whole game. The onside kick at the 12-minute mark was amazing. I would have loved it if it was a surprise. I know that was our buddy Mike's shared opinion. I would have loved it if we could still have that element, but doing it right there, pretty stinking awesome, pretty smart. The takeaway from this game is that these are two teams that should or that could be getting there, but the Lions just continue to take hits. In the second half of this game, though they lose 48-42, and that happens, that's a bummer. Of course, you don't want it to happen if you're them. But what more so hurts is losing another two guys in the secondary, one starting cornerback, and then also the biggest loss of the day, David Montgomery goes down. I heard today that it's an injury they're hoping he can come back from during the playoffs, and that's the expected timeline as of right now. So we're talking minor surgery, and then probably in that 5-6 week range. That's where they're looking. So, glad to hear that. Glad that it's not a absolute season ender, though.
And
Detroit's
also
gonna have to do some work to keep him in.
They still have Gibbs too, right? This isn't the end of the world. Kind of like they're gonna have to go sign someone off the street. I mean, they'll probably will for depth, but overall, like you still got Gibbs. Like that's why you're not as worried as you would if this was a team like Eagles with a Saquon. Like if the Eagles out, bye bye, Eagles.
Your season's over.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, their depth is definitely there. I mean, the fact that they've been winning these games with the insane amount of injuries that they have had.
Yeah.
They've been fortunate to this point. It really hadn't been outside of Hutch anybody that was key. I mean, and I'm not trying to negate, a linebacker, members of the secondary and all that. But if you look at their star players, dudes that put points on the board, and they're really big names and all that, like Hutch was the guy. They're all, and that's to me is why they've been able to stay in. Plus the fact that their offensive line is insanely great, and has been able to stay healthy this whole time, keep Jared in games, keep that running game moving for the most part. I did see a hint maybe of something coming. I don't think they were going to do it this week. They wanted to see, it looks like, where the run game's at. But I don't know if you guys noticed, Clyde got let go by the Chiefs this week. Clyde Edwards-Helaire did. And he would be a natural fit for a short-term rental there. For a team that wants a guy that can catch the ball coming out of the backfield, which is part of Montgomery's game, also can run between the tackles. You actually look at their yards per carry, and they're very similar, him and Montgomery. Wouldn't be surprised at all if that's a dude they go and snag. Clyde should be playing football somewhere. He just got lost on a depth chart where Kareem Hunt came in and killed it for the Chiefs when Pacheco went down, and now Pacheco's back. So that would be interesting to see. I've heard a couple rumors. There's definitely multiple reports going out that they've contacted him, and we may see that after the weekend. But they wanted to see what they got in house first. That's the MCDC way. Not surprised about that. But did love this football game. Josh Allen, he's the MVP, guys. It's over. It's done. We don't need to have that conversation again. I don't think it matters what happens in the next couple of weeks. That was just insane football again. And,
I think you're probably right. But at the same time, Lamar did throw for like 300 yards and 5 touchdowns on Sunday.
Listen, and
if it weren't for voter fatigue, like because it's like the Oscars, like eventually somebody gets it, even if it's maybe not the one. Now, obviously, Josh Allen is having his best season for sure, and if not for Lamar, would be having the best statistical season of basically any quarterback. But as it stands, Lamar doesn't have the games under his belt. He demolished in the head-to-head, but his stats across the board are just better. But I think there's probably going to be some voter fatigue, and Josh has been knocking on the door, and they're going to have a really good record, and he's had some memorable moments, and so I think the narrative will eventually prop him up. But I still think that there is a lot of validity. And I would, if I was watching, I would probably still say it might be Lamar, but still it could come down to these last few weeks. So
I'd push and say, or bring up this point, because we talked about it a lot last year. And this was actually your viewpoint when we talked about this was we were looking at CMC and Brock last year, and we talked about how there was going to be votes taken by the running back or by the quarterback from the running back at a certain point. And I do think that's pretty obvious that that would happen in this scenario. People that are going to vote towards the Ravens player, Derrick Henry is going to get some of that attention.
Yeah.
Not as much as we thought he would about 4 weeks ago, but he's going to get some of that attention too. So I think there'd be some splitting, and I think Allen is just clearly the guy.
Yeah,
I mean,
but I
not
would
to
also
not to
say,
negate Lamar's play.
yeah, I mean, I would also say though, in that comparison, CMC was doing a much heavier load, load bearing for that team compared to Brock versus what Lamar's numbers are. Obviously, uh, he's still the workhorse, Derrick Henry is, but if we're looking at like the numbers that CMC was putting up at his position versus what Brock was doing. Brock's numbers are not really holding a candle to what Lamar's doing right now, and I don't think anybody's going to argue that. So I would still
that
say,
scenario, I'd flip the value of those two guys.
Obviously a better running back, still a
Yeah.
really good running back right now, Derrick Henry, but then two totally different levels of quarterback play.
Yep.
So
But I definitely see what you're saying, and we've said that same thing in this year with talking about Lamar earlier, and anytime somebody has tried to bring up other players in the past, we always look and say, kind of a product of the environment here. Like that's again one of the reasons why I think Sam Darnold is not an MVP quarterback, because I think a lot of that is coaching. I think a lot is the defense and the talent around him. So there's certainly that argument to be made. I think it probably is going to be Josh Allen again, just because of the narrative, and again, just watching the games. But Lamar's stats are just otherworldly.
so you guys talk about MVP. I want to put some respect on an individual's name for the MVP conversations.
It's fine.
Jared Goff.
Bingo, bro. He has a higher completion percentage than all of these guys. So he's at 71.4 completion percentage. He's at 3,800 yards, 30 passing touchdowns, and a passer rating of 110. And that's a higher passer rating than Joe Burrow. That's a higher passer rating than Josh Allen. It's a higher passer rating. It's not higher than Lamar Jackson. That's it.
Lamar could set the record for highest passer rating in a season by quarterback, also on top of his numbers.
Yeah, and they're both tied. Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are both tied with 37 total touchdowns. But dude, you look at, if I was just to give you the stats of all those guys, like you 100% like wouldn't predict that Jared Goff is in the mix of all of that, with more yards, higher completion percentage than all of those guys. And then I mean he has like two more interceptions than Joe Burrow. I was trying to alternate between them all.
Yeah,
But
I know we all agree with this. What I'm going to say next, and that's that we always want to look at this conversation, and we factored it in last year when we talked about the 49ers situation. We factored it in when we talked about Lamar previous years. It's the talent around you when your team is really, really good. And right now, if you look at the talent around Josh Allen and
That
what
part I
he's
would
doing,
definitely agree with. Yeah.
yeah, it's like it's unworldly what he's able to do with not having a true number one right now. Like Amari's still coming back to being whole and got traded to this team mid-season. Like he does not have a real number one. He hasn't had a consistent tight end. They've been flip-flopping with injuries and crud. James Cook did a really good job at the beginning of the season, and then has had some injuries where he's hobbling around, and Josh is taking over games, and he's just winning those games, willing those games. Has the best win still of the season, and I would now argue the two best wins of the season under his belt via the Chiefs and the Lions, and I think that crud just matters. It just does. So that's all the stuff. But to me, it's a lock where it is getting that second big win and clearly being the reason that your team got it when you had to put up 48 points to make it happen because your defense couldn't stop Ben Johnson's offense for nothing.
Yeah, and real quick too, before we move on from this, the interesting thing is for both of those two players, Lamar and Josh Allen here, they have two very different ways to try to make themselves stand out over these past, or the next 3 games that they have before the end of the season to really solidify that MVP. Lamar's route is kind of by performing and winning against difficult opponents. He has the Steelers coming up next week. He's got the Texans, and then he's going to finish with the Browns, which is obviously always a tough game for them over there. And if you put up good numbers in those games, that's good for your narrative. But at the same time, Josh Allen's next 3 games are the Patriots, the Jets, and the Patriots. So he could put up some crazy Pat statting type numbers here, and just run away with it that way too. And then, I think probably win those 3 games and have a fantastic record while doing it. So they have 2 different like narratives that they can approach to try to take that home over the next 3 games.
Well, and they're still going to need to keep winning because there's a number 1 seed at stake. And that is the all-important thing. Nobody wants to go to Arrowhead for an AFC championship game.
Chiefs have a brutal stretch coming up with that high ankle sprain for Mahomes.
Yep. And who did get cleared today. He's cleared to play against the Texans this weekend. It'll be interesting with the Texans, by the way, nothing to play for. They're locked into a spot. They can't move up. Like they're just not going to.
Mm-hmm.
So what do? I mean, you just play Stroud a first half and make sure he stays warm and, buckle up because they're taking that 4 seed. That's just
I do hate how they're cramming these games in here for Christmas though.
Oh, dude, it sucks. We're going to see injury fest on Christmas Day. That's what I think Netflix is
If Patrick Mahomes gets re-injured during this stretch, obviously the NFL isn't going to change it because money talks, but that one would really come back to bite him.
Bro, we're on. I think we're all on this side of the fence right now. The NFL would change crap mid-season if Patrick Mahomes got hurt, okay, and it wasn't going to be in the playoffs. Dear Lord, that's what it feels like. They're like, nope. New rules, guys.
Cutting the broadcast. We're cutting this broadcast. Yeah.
And we're bringing in blah, blah, blah from the NFL offices in New York to explain these rule changes. Some garbage like that. Speaking of all those playoffs, just so everybody knows where it's all at, in the AFC, the Chiefs have taken the division and obviously right now are in the captain's chair, if you will, as the 1 seed. That's going to be really interesting, as we just mentioned, see how that shakes out. The Bills have taken the division and locked in their spot, fighting for the 2. And the Steelers have made the playoffs, have not yet secured a division. They are playing the Ravens this week, and not to jump the gun here, but we're definitely going to talk about that in a couple minutes when we do pick them. And the Texans, as we already mentioned, have taken that 4th seed. Pretty much that's it. Technically they can move up to the 3, but I don't know.
A lot has to happen.
They got a tough couple of games to make that happen for themselves. So how much energy do you want to give that? On the other side, the NFC does not have a clear favorite yet. The Lions, Eagles, Vikings, all competing for 1 seed, have made the playoffs. Those are the only 3 teams that have officially made the playoffs in the NFC. Obviously, the Lions and Vikings duking it out in the same division. As well as the Packers continue to apply pressure, they're a win away from the playoffs. They can do that by winning any of the next 3 games that they have. They will be in. So pretty stinking even over there. We've already mentioned the NFC West completely up for grabs, and the schedule is there for the Seahawks and the Rams. So I won't dive into that. I want to get to pick them. We are doing a little abbreviated episode tonight, but before we do that, I missed being able to do what I'm about to do by about 6 minutes last week. I found out that this happened right after we got out of the episode, and I was super bummed. Because in that episode, somebody did say out loud that they really wanted something, and I decided to make an early Christmas present of this. You guys may have seen these laying around, but last week as we were recording, Grant did quote something and said, "I gotta have this," and I was able to find the exact one he was looking for.
No way.
We can't see it with the backdrop. I could just see Jamison.
I just see Jameis Winston's face, but I know what that is.
This is the Etsy shirt that you saw.
No
and
way.
I had already ordered it. I had already ordered it before you brought it up on this show last week. So this is the horse. The horse is preparing for battle, but victory comes from the Lord. Yep.
That's amazing.
It's
awesome.
ready to go. So I was gonna surprise you with it on Saturday, but I thought the podcast made more sense.
Dude.
So
Bless up.
I'll see you. It'll be
sick.
at your house on
Dude,
Saturday.
I'm gonna wear it every episode. Every episode. It's just I'm gonna get like what I have for my jersey back there for that.
Absolutely.
Just for that shirt.
Yes.
Just put it up there. That's awesome.
It will not offend me that if you never wear this, and it just, I mean, when I look, it's to my right of your head is your Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
And if the other side is Jameis Winston with this, I will not be sad about it at all.
Yeah.
But no, I had literally been looking.
So funny.
The 2 weeks ago when we were recording, on the episode, we were talking about it, and you were just like, "This is my guy. Like, I got to get his jersey."
I still do.
I was like, "Huh." And I came off the episode. I'm like, I'm not dropping $100+ for that guy's jersey. That ain't happening. But
$20 for a shirt.
Definitely see if I can get a quote shirt and figure that out. So
that's awesome.
It got here during our episode last week, and
let's go.
Late Amazon arrival. Sick. But anyway, I am turning it over to you for our pick of this week, and let's hit it.
So I'm actually gonna go from bottom to top in terms of the way the games are working for the most part.
That's fair, because the trash is at the bottom.
The trash is kind of at the bottom. I mean, I do think there's one in particular that's even worse than but I will start by the way, all of us went 3-2 except for Mike. Mike went 4-1. So not a whole lot of movement in terms of, I have a 1-game lead, so we're getting down. We have 3 opportunities now, Matt, for you to try and take me out.
Let's go.
I mean, technically, Jamison, if you go perfect here,
one
of these weeks,
it is
it's still close enough that this is anybody's.
It is close. This is the closest we've been at this point in the season
to each other.
I think probably ever since we started actually tracking the pick'em.
It is also still our best. Yeah, this is our best season.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a collective.
Absolutely.
Which is so funny again, because as we've talked about, the beginning of the season was like,
we don't know what's happening.
Like, it was like football dystopia. I'm like, what are we watching here? None of this makes sense.
Yeah. Yep. But nonetheless, we have weathered the storm. So Matt, I'll just start with you. We got your team. We got the 49ers at the Dolphins. 2 teams technically not out of it mathematically. But the hope is very slim for both of these teams. Matt, how you feeling?
Not good. Not good. Here's what I do know though, about the team that they're playing. The Dolphins cannot seem to figure out like how to consistently score points. Yeah. Their defense, their secondary is fantastic, but outside of that, meh, all over the place. And Mike McDaniel is 3-13 now against teams that are above 500. That is his, and I understand the 49ers are not, but
both teams are 6-8. Both teams are 6-8. That's why I picked this game.
Yep. And but he is 23-9 against teams that have a below 500 record. That and I understand that, like,
it's not a good stat for his coaching, by the way.
No, that's a terrible stat. That's a Ryan Day stat. Dear Lord. Yep. We're gonna definitely get to talk about that before we wrap up this season. The Ohio State football program at some point. But no, I was looking at that this last week and I was like, that is pretty brutal. That said, 49ers just found out today they are on running back number 5.
Bro.
Garendo has a hamstring injury that he is nursing, and Patrick Taylor is going to play football for the 49ers on Sunday.
Cool. Are you next?
Yeah, seriously. I'm in the lottery. Okay. Like Pat McAfee does that. Like 100 people get to put in first 100 people to kick the ball on Saturday. I'm in the lottery. It's a big lottery. There's like 40,000 of us.
Yep.
But I think I can make it through 3 plays, and 2 of them I'll need to be blocking on.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think we can all understand 1 tackle, and at my age, I will be talking to Jesus after that.
Yeah.
So either conscious or, in the heavenlies. So no, all that said, don't love that. Don't necessarily love where the 49ers are at coming off this issue with Campbell, but they do have a ton of fight in them. Dolphins are playing for nothing. Niners are playing for nothing. I think in those scenarios, it's the team with more pride. I'm going to take the Niners in this game. I think they want it more than the Dolphins do. The Dolphins literally have no reason to go play football for the next couple weeks. These guys are just fighting for draft pick status at this point, but I'm going to take the Niners.
Yeah. I'm probably just gonna take the better coach here at this point. I mean, obviously these teams are comparable. They have the exact same record.
Sure.
So like it's kind of a toss up everywhere else. But I mean, I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna go with the night. No, I'm gonna go with the Dolphins.
Okay, I'm glad
Not
you did
because
that.
he's the better coach, right?
No, it's not because of that. I just think of if you just look at right now, talent wise, they right now. I mean, Dolphins aren't on running back 6 or 5. You know, Tyreek Hill is still on this team. Jalen Waddle is still on this team.
They are football players.
They are football players. And just the way that you guys are, your wide receiver room does not look great right now.
Nope.
I mean, not a
Juwan
whole lot
Jennings
of your,
does.
not a whole lot of your rooms
Juwan
and
Jennings
any of it
does.
look real good right now. Maybe linebacker.
Linebacker looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Solid.
I think I'm gonna go Dolphins.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
I don't hate that pick either, dude. I sat here thinking about it.
Yeah. So
Is Trent Williams playing this week?
He's still on
Officially?
the possible. No, there's no official yet.
I'm probably gonna lean Niners. That's where my heart's telling me here. I would have a hard time picking the Dolphins and Tua right now with how they're playing. And like you said, I think there's a little bit more fight left in the 49ers, even though they don't really have any hope for like a postseason run. I just really think, especially after the drama that was this last week, they're not going to want to lose this game. And then it's the coaching factor. So I'm going to go with the Niners.
Yeah, it's a pride game.
yeah. So we'll get Mike's picks in later. So Jameson, we're staying with you. Toilet bowl alert. Quite possibly the biggest toilet bowl of the year. We've got the Jaguars at the Raiders, two teams with a combined win a total of 5 games between the two of them. Jaguars at Raiders, Jameson.
I'm actually going to pick the Jags here. I think the Raiders really are that bad. And despite how bad the Jaguars actually are, I mean, they still like had a semi-functioning offense. I mean, I think Mac had like 2 touchdowns, 2 picks last week, but threw for almost like 300 yards. So like there's something in there, and I just think the Raiders are just tip to tail garbage.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna roll with the Jags, but yeah, definitely a toilet bowl game for sure. I safe to say I will not actually be tuning in to see if my pick'em cashes for this or not.
Yeah. Yeah, I won't either. I'll just look at it later. I'm gonna go Jaguars as well because I at least like Tank Bigsby and ETN better than whatever the Raiders have. I at least like Brian Thomas better than whatever the Raiders have.
Brian Thomas is
Yeah.
he's
Brian
in a bad
Thomas is
spot
good
right now, but he's legit.
Yeah.
He's good.
So they definitely have an answer there. There is not anything that I like more on the Raiders side of the ball. Not a group, nothing. Even though Jaguars are not good, they're bunts. You know, I'd probably take Mac Jones over. Was it O'Connell right now? No, is he done? Who's their quarterback? Is Minshew
Ritter.
back?
Ritter.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. There's not a thing I like about the Raiders. I can't think of one
Yeah,
thing.
I mean the Jags put up 25 on the Jets, and I don't think the Jets have the best defense in the league like we maybe thought they
Well,
would
they
have.
still put up 25 points.
But yeah, and the Jets
That's not nothing.
The Jets have some dudes on defense, like
Yeah.
not the Raiders though, especially not now with Crosby.
No, yeah, with Crosby out, no.
There's not a position player I like better on the Raiders.
Name 2 defensive players on the Raiders.
Wilkins, is it Christian Wilkins, right?
But yeah, but he's hurt, right?
Oh, is he here too?
Yeah.
Active players.
Oh.
Next,
dude,
Matt, your turn.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, I'll name one player that you guys like on the Raiders. His last name is Bowers.
Oh, well, he's a defense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
that's
no,
a
you were saying it earlier.
Can
like,
he
yes,
play
yes,
defense
yes.
too? They might need it.
Yeah.
That's
true. They do have
he could
Brock-
probably play
yeah.
some defensive end.
Brock
I
Bowers
mean,
is a stud.
Yeah.
No disrespect to him. My apologies.
No rant here, but just a quick vote. Brock Bowers or George Kittle if you have to play a football game tomorrow.
Right now, Brock Bowers. I think George Kittle 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago.
You mean when last year when he was the number one tight end in the league?
Yeah, but I mean, just like peak, physical form, prime of your career age wise. Like, give me his skill set at his prime, but I don't think he's in his physical prime anymore. So give me Brock Bowers.
Man, I can't wait till you turn 30. Can't
30
wait.
months.
I might. This is just I don't know their stats right now. Like I'm just gut.
You got to play a football game tomorrow. That was the scenario.
I might take Kittle just for the body of work.
Kittle.
Yeah.
So Kittle has 74 targets this year. He's caught 60 of them. 14.4 on his average per reception, and he's sitting at 8 touchdowns right now. I think Brock's got 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, but
Leads
put
the
Brock
league
Bowers in a Shanahan offense instead of being in Las
I mean,
Vegas.
that'd
And
be
give
might be a
give
different.
George Kittle the amount of targets that Brock Bowers got. Dude would have 19 touchdowns right now. I'm just saying, like,
Well,
it's
he
insane.
might play too physically to actually even
Yeah.
sustain how he plays. But he's also a much better run blocker, obviously.
Yeah. No, it was a fun conversation this week. I had somebody try and throw stats at me to back up their opinion about Bowers, and I was like, bro, all you have is volume. Like that's literally all you have. It's you don't have catch average, you don't have yak. Like, oh my gosh, nobody breaks tackles at the tight end position like George Kittle. That's still true. But obviously the run blocking, and that's a key element to the position. But it was a whole thing. Like, yeah, that's cute, but nope, not yet. I'm not dethroning a dude who's still playing better ball than the other guy currently. Like, it's still a thing. But if you're talking about obviously like next season, well, I get that. You can make a case on it all day with me. I can put my fandom aside and go, yeah, I'd take Brock next year, no problem, right now.
So
Yeah,
Matt, toilet bowl.
toilet bowl, my bad. Jaguars. There's this guy, by the way, named Brenton Strange that plays for the Jaguars. He caught like 11 passes last week for 73 yards from Mac Jones. He plays tight end. If you do fantasy football and you don't put him on your team, you're dumb. Because one of your friends is going to do it, and this game is going to suck. And Brenton Strange is going to score a touchdown and probably have 12 more receptions. That was his first game playing with Mac as the actual tight end on that team, because Ingram is now out for the year. He's quote unquote out for the year. They're saving him, but anyway, you should definitely do that. Also, Patrick Taylor should be on your squad if he's available on your waiver wires right now. Just throwing that out there. What's the next one, dude?
Next one we've got Eagles at Commanders. Matt, how you feeling?
Eagles at Commanders? Oh, shoot. I didn't even realize that was the
last three are good. I mean, the last three are good ones.
Eagles.
Yeah.
Eagles. Yeah. Yeah, that defense is too good.
I'm going the same.
No analysis.
Yeah, as much as I want to be a contrarian, especially because again, known Eagles hater on the show, the Commanders don't have any any help on defense right now to stop that, and then the Eagles defense is just playing on another level. So it's
Jalen Carter's.
I'm gonna be rooting for the Commanders, but
Sure.
I think it's gonna be the Eagles.
I know Bobby Wagner's going to get a whole lot of tackles because Saquon's going to be right in his face the entire time.
Yep.
So that's the only thing I can really bank on.
Bobby might lead the league in tackles this Sunday. Like he might have the most.
He might lead the league in tackles in the year 2040.
That's death taxes and Bobby Wagner.
Yeah,
heck yeah, dude.
Taxes. Anyway, all right. So that was pretty easy. Wait. So what's the order?
You know this is going to be a
me
sweep,
next year.
right? You know this is going to be a sweep. This next one.
Wait. Who? I forget. Who's next? Is you, Jameson?
Yeah, it's me.
All right. We got Vikings at the Seahawks. Seahawks got embarrassed on Sunday.
Say it, Jamison. Say it.
It's got to be the Vikings. It's got to be the Vikings. Skull.
Bye-bye.
Skull,
baby. And then we're gonna wave bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
To your Seahawks, unfortunately. And I will say this: I was very sad, legitimately, that Geno went down in that game, because that's not how I would have wanted us to potentially make the playoffs. And it seems like he's going to be playing in this game, but he's still going to be, a little banged up. but it just sucked because of all the things to appreciate on that team. I think Gino was kind of underrated, but very deserving of a lot of praise. And I think you see just how how deserving he is of that praise when you have a guy like Sam Howell come in and basically just look pedestrian
He was
on that
terrible.
behind that offensive line, especially. So feel bad for him, but I just don't think, especially going up against that Vikings defense right now, being a little bit banged up and having that offensive line situation, it's going to be too little, too late. They could certainly make it interesting, and like I said, I'm a little nervous about the Rams in a trap game with the Saint or the Jets here. So I'm definitely going to be rooting for the Vikings, but I do feel kind of bad that this is how everything is like kind of teetering off at the end.
It was
But I
one
also
game.
don't. So
It's just
It
one
was,
game.
it was
Just
one
one
game.
game. Yeah. It was
Listen,
a game.
I said it. I said it last week. I'm gonna say it again.
Oh, he's gonna do it.
But I'm gonna say this: they just needed to win one of these next two. Packers at Vikings. That's what they needed to do. Season isn't over. It's not Jover. All right. Gino can be so back, and he's gonna be back. And this team, they're gonna rally. They know they have to win. Um, Seahawks are gonna win. I'm taking the Seahawks. I said it last week. I said they were gonna lose to the Packers and beat the Vikings. That's what I said last week, and I'm gonna stay consistent with that. Even if I don't like my chances as well because of the whole Geno situation. I don't like my chances as much. Um, this is the last home game.
That doesn't matter anymore, apparently.
Apparently not.
Seattle
but,
just sells all their tickets.
Yeah.
But it's really expensive to live there, They need the extra cash.
Yeah. But I am taking my Seahawks in this must-win game because all the other must-win games, they've done it. This last week was not a must-win. This week it is.
That's technically true.
I mean, yeah,
but
well,
they won all their. I said it a couple weeks ago. They won all their must-win games. The Cardinals twice. The Jets. What was the other one?
maybe they lost to the Rams.
It was before coming out of the bye. We've won all our games out of the bye up until this point. But we've won those games. I believe it. I believe in this team. I called it last week. I'm sticking with my guns here. Seahawks are going to win.
I would like to bring to the attention of the court the fact that Grant did not believe in his team last week. He actually picked the Packers to win that game. On Pick'em, and as somebody
and now he's
who
first place in Pick'em because of it.
Doesn't give a crap what happens to the Seahawks, other than I guess I'm just rooting for their total demise. I just can't believe that you would come on the show and say, listen, I said this was going to happen, and then tell us, like what you did about the Packers, that they were going to beat your team, and like that you could sit here with the audacity to say that you believe good things for your team when you knew they were on their way down. You knew that it was going to happen.
I didn't know. No, I never said that. I said they weren't going to win a game. That doesn't mean they're
okay.
I never said their season was over.
And this is not a home game. Okay, they might as well just bring the drum to Seattle. Purple's going to show up, fill all those seats that you guys don't want to hang out in.
I have been to Seahawks playing the Vikings, and even before this whole Seahawks not having home field advantage, Vikings fans shut up because it's also probably the second closest team proximity distance wise NFL team.
I would argue that the 49ers are definitely closer.
I think in terms of distance, I think they're fairly
Broncos. Broncos are closer. Dang it, I don't want to do geography right now. All I'm saying is you don't have real faith in your team. That's false.
Yes, I do.
Garbage.
I have accurate faith in my team. Accurate faith. Accurate faith.
I really hope now that they lose by like 30 points.
I have accurate faith. I have realistic faith. Yes. I have the amount of hope that they give me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Outcomes dictate the level
They're
of
going to win
faith.
out. They're winning out.
Faith is absolutely determined by an outcome.
They're winning out.
They are not winning out. They're going to lose this game. Vikings are going to win this. Probably decently close. I will give you that. I got this. Let's put it around a 27-21. Somewhere in that range.
I like the coaching matchup in this game. It's like a strength on strength coaching matchup.
A young offensive coordinator, offensive mind, a young defensive mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like that. But the other way around, I don't know if that Seahawks offense is going to have the juice right now against that Vikings defense.
I will say that Vikings defensive line is going to cook. They are going to cook. That is That's probably the best young defensive line in the whole league.
Yeah.
Remember, they gave up Hunter and had been doing work. And that Seahawks offensive line's got to be bottom 5, right? Like,
yeah,
I'm not overshooting that. So they're going to cook, but I think that's that. And that might very well be the difference in the game. That's been the difference in 3 games for them. They've had sacks and or massive defensive plays that ended potential game winning or tying drives. That defense has closed out 3 games, I think, in the last 6. So, yeah, we'll just taking them. Is that our last game? Oh,
no,
you guys got to pick
more.
we got one more?
We got the game of the
week. Game.
Oh, okay. This is not hard for me. Let's go.
All right. Steelers at Ravens.
All right. 100% Ravens. 100%. They are healthy. They are at home. The Steelers are not healthy. They're playing without Pickens again. Russell Wilson without Pickens is the difference in this matchup. If he cannot go vertical, he cannot pick you apart. The big play threat is gone. That's what it is. The Ravens are going to win this game because they will run the ball very effectively. Lamar will have his way. If they stay in that single high safety against Lamar, good freaking luck. Zay Flowers is going to take the top off. You are hosed. Yep. They cannot do that. They've got to stay back into high and try and let Lamar pick them apart underneath because obviously the Ravens are not possession oriented. They're not going to play that underneath game really well. So unless they make that adjustment, especially, they don't even have a chance. The Steelers don't in this game. I'm honestly Ravens all in by 10. Yeah, like I believe it.
Yeah, if Pickens was playing, I might pick the Steelers, but
totally
that's a
different
big deal.
Game. Yep.
That's a big deal, especially because this Ravens secondary is buns. It is buns. If you look at all statistics, their passing defense is buns.
They give up the second most fantasy points to wide receivers in the league.
Yep. But not having Pickens kind of means that washes out to me, where it's like that where that's a strength of going vertical with Pickens and the deep ball and all that stuff. That's gone. But that secondary now, it doesn't have to worry about that as much. So yeah, I'm going Ravens here. I think the Steelers beat them last time, but I think the split. These teams are just too good. I think for either one of them to get swept or whatever. I think the Ravens are too good for that. So yeah, Ravens.
Yeah, this is a Ravens sweep here. I think you're going to need a lot more than, like the ghost of Mike Williams, Pat Freiermuth, and coming off of beating the washed allegations Russell Wilson to keep up with like potential MVP Lamar and Derrick Henry still beasting and feasting as if he's in his athletic prime. And I just think, again, this is an opportunity for Lamar to really have another statement moment for his potential MVP case. He does have those quality of opponents coming up over the next couple of weeks here. And I think if he puts up a big game here and then puts up a big game against the Texans, I think that means a lot, not just for the Ravens, but for his MVP case. And I also do agree with everything you've said about Pickens being out. That's a big deal. That would have been the area of weakness, the place to attack the Ravens right now. And they just don't have a way to do it with those guys that I was mentioning here. And I don't think Najee Harris really has, the horses. He fumbled this last week as well at a critical point in that game. I just don't think that offense can really keep up. And I hadn't checked. Obviously, we know T.J. Watt went out with an injury. Do we know his status for this game? He's in.
Yeah.
Even a hobbled T.J. Watt, like he doesn't seem to be the guy that when he's in the game is like really truly affected by any of those things. But I still, again, that would be a tall ask for him in this game with that backfield threat. So
an injured T.J. Watt is still like the best player on the field.
Yeah, but unfortunately, that is not so great when you have Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson that you're trying to chase around and tackle there. So yeah, I think Ravens pretty comfortably here. But I do think that a healthy Steelers team, they're not going to go down without a fight for sure. I just think this is maybe a bad time for the Steelers to draw a team like the Ravens.
Yeah.
So as we're on our way out today, echoing a comment you made there, or coming off of it, I guess. Freiermuth, by the way, if you are a fantasy owner, absolute must play. Unless you got a reason.
Wilson likes him. Wilson's been liking him. He's been looking his way a lot.
Well, and as Jamison just correctly stated there about that secondary, I mean, because both did, like they're gonna give some stuff up. Freiermuth's probably the touchdown guy. I believe he caught one this last week, with Pickens out, and he's gonna probably see double-digit targets this week. The way that defense works, if they can get him away from Roquan, they will throw him the ball.
He's had 3 touchdowns the last 3 weeks.
Yep. And yeah, you got to ride that wave for sure. Another hilarious thing I heard that you guys will think is stupid funny in the world of fantasy. Real question that went around in 3 different groups that I'm in. One that I moderate. This guy was asking, is Derrick Henry worth starting this week? And I went, are you out of your freaking mind? He's like, well, he only got blah, blah, blah points. I didn't know everybody's league settings are different in their last matchup. And I was like, hey, dummy, that doesn't matter at all. That's situational football. 100%. It's situational football. And this game is at home. That game was not. It doesn't even matter one week to the next.
He is still honestly. The king, bro.
You play your guy. And that's just what I wanted to make the point on for you. We don't talk enough about fantasy football because we just don't have the time on the show anymore to do it. But legitimately, play your guys the next couple of weeks. This is what got you here. Don't panic. Don't freak out. Play your guys. But that said, with the injuries that are around, and a few guys that are going to miss a games here, T. Higgins, super questionable right now, I guess. I'm paying attention to that one. That affects me. I'm playing Mike right now in the A-League playoffs. Had a real good night because we didn't get to mention it, but the Cameron Dicker free kick, I was a beneficiary of that one. I started him tonight. I got 5 points for that one in the A-League. So
yeah, I'm in the championship semifinal. So
yep. So yeah, and Mike and
projected
I are
to win.
Projected. Yep. Also projected to beat Mike pretty handily. But no, I was just gonna say, play your dudes. Also, one quick one to watch if you are dealing with the injury bugs, wide receiver McMillan down in Tampa has taken the Godwin role, 18 and 19 points if you were in a half-point PPR league the last 2 weeks, and they are rolling against Dallas this week. And as I mentioned, that secondary early on in the show, really struggling. That dude is points because all the attention goes over to Mike Evans, and this guy gets one-on-one matchups all the time. He is thriving in that system with Baker, and he's going to let him cook. So go grab McMillan and start him. I just put him in my lineup today when I found out Pickens was out because he was my backup, and I don't feel bad about it at all. So absolutely go for it, but start your guys. Don't be dumb here. Don't worry about this is the 20th ranked defense or whatever. Like I was looking at certain matchups, like the Chargers have been giving up points, right? I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go for it because the Chargers have been giving up points. I'm going to start in one of my leagues. I started Bo Nix. Wasn't sad about it. I got my points that I needed to get tonight. Not a big deal. Go get your guy, put him in the lineup. Don't question it. Do your dang thing and go to bat with your dudes. But also, Cincinnati defense. Don't be scared to start them. They scored points last week. I got 19 points on them. Ended up winning a playoff game because of them in one of my public leagues, and was absolutely hilarious. But they are incredibly opportunistic. They will give up yards and whatnot, but they have been getting turnovers like crazy and have scored a few touchdowns in recent weeks as well. So don't be scared to go start them. They've got a great matchup this week
against the Browns.
Who are starting Dorian Thompson. Because the football gods hate us and are taking Jameis Winston away from a microphone. Stupid. Yep. But you should definitely go do that because of that. Thompson's going to turn the ball over. That dude sucks. If you think Jameis Winston turns the ball over too much, wait until you see this guy get crushed and not get yards or touchdowns. But anyway, just encourage everybody, be about your stuff. Also, speaking of Mike, we want to just give him props. He won our chopping block league this last week. If you guys do not already play a guillotine league, absolutely get into one. You draft like normal. It's usually more teams in that league, though, than you would normally have. Ours is a 16-team league, And the idea is that you just don't score the least amount of points week to week. So you got every week, you're trying to not be in last place for points scored. If you do end up in that position, your team gets cut. All your players go to the waiver wire, and it starts over into the next week. So we all got booted out of that league at one point. I made it longer this year than last year.
I think I was the longest outside of Mike.
Yeah.
I got out like 3 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. So
I made it longer. I was happy with that. We all did better this year.
Mm-hmm.
Because Jamison went out early last year, didn't you? Wasn't it like week 2 or 3? And I followed not long after.
Yeah.
Anybody can get out any week. It's just kind of funny how it happens, but you should do one. But anyway, props to Mike for winning that league. And we hope you guys have a great football week. This game tonight was certainly electric between the Broncos and the Chargers. We didn't touch on that because we were focused on our recap this week. But we're headed for a great weekend of football, all the playoff implications, all the stuff. We'll see you right back here next week.
See ya.